I have to make this announcement. I want to thank Julie from the Crestwood 5 Resident Club. This is a woman who goes way above and beyond for the residents and for myself and for the people. I cannot thank you enough. She has helped us many, many times. And also, Steve, who's the president of Village 5, who over the years, if you've been to my classes, has extended his clubhouse. And it has made this possible. Steve, thank you very much. And the help, and their men who come and set up the chairs. At this time, I would like to shout out to a few people we have. We have our Councilman Vaccaro here, Joe Hankin, Councilman. But we also have Mike Signorelli from Berkeley Township, Councilman. Please stand, Mike. This is how important, Mike, where are you? Why this is important. They're taking this back to Berkeley. We're not the only people. Have Judy Piquet from the coalition. And I want to give a special shout out to Marguerite, who is working very diligently for her seniors in Berkeley Township and has really been a help to me over a lot of the bills that we do. Also, another person who I just want to come up and mention, Commissioner Gary Quinn. Would you please come up for a moment? Gary Quinn is a commissioner in his over consumer affairs, and I consider him a friend, a mentor, and has always given me a lot of help. I just would like to, a lot of people don't get to meet our commissioners. This is Commissioner Gary Quinn.
Thank you, Judy. Just to be brief, I just want to, number one, thank Judy for putting this together and allowing us and some of our team from the county to be here today to inform you on a lot of stuff that can really affect your everyday lives. Whether it be scams, whether it be fraud, senior services. We've got some great speakers here today that are going to do a great job. Judy and I go back about 20 years, and I always kid with her that, if she puts something together, it's going to be successful, because Judy does not take no for an answer. I consider her my personal pit bull, and if you don't get what you want, go to Judy, because she's going to get it for you. Thank you to the council members for inviting us here today. I know Mayor Arrace is out of town, at the convention, but I certainly want to recognize the mayor for the great job he's doing, along with the council members here in Manchester Township. But please enjoy it. The speakers are going to stick around after the presentation itself if there's any personal questions that you'd like to ask. But we've got three of the best here at the county: Maria LaFace, Ron Heinzman, and Paul Wink. They're going to answer hopefully all the questions you have and give you some protection so that you can hopefully live your lives without having to worry about a lot of the scammers out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Gary. The whole reason we're here, I have to tell you, it started with the Manchester Police. At one time, they came to me and they said, Judy, we need to get some of this information out, because they are really on the front lines for the seniors, and they have been dealing with some of these scams already. And also consumer affairs. Now, consumer affairs for me, being that I was from Berkeley and I was a councilwoman, I dealt with consumer affairs. A lot of people are not aware what consumer affairs really is all about, and the Better Business Bureau. This is for contractors. Anytime you have bad deals, these are the people, they're going to give you the information that you can go to. This isn't just about seniors. This hits everybody, these scammers, what type of scams they are. And people have come to me from one of the churches. People are embarrassed. They don't know who to go to. They don't know what to do. I mean, even these for sale signs posted on these telephone poles, you see them, I'll buy your house. That's a joke. They send you cards in the mail, correct? You get the phone calls. These are things you do not want to deal with. They're not people that you really want. So the reason I had invited Senior Service Marie, who is the Director of Senior Services, she has had issues. I'll let her explain them, what she has faced with her seniors. She's on Hooper Avenue. I would like to allow the speaker, I'm going to introduce each speaker at the time, if you have questions at the answers, but let them speak and then have your questions. If you have a question, you may come up here and ask the question. So at this time, I would like to introduce Marie LaFace from Senior Services.
start by thanking Judy for always giving me an opportunity to talk because she knows I like to do that. I also want to thank the leadership here for letting us come and share this really important information. But I am not the main event, so I'm going to be very brief. My name's Maria LaFace. I'm the director of the Ocean County Office of Senior Services. Brief overview of our department. We are in charge of all things aging. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but I have 200,000 seniors in our county that I'm responsible for. It's kind of a heavy lift, but I've got some good support. What we do, we offer services such as Meals on Wheels, caregiver support, medical alert buttons, and all of those things. The goal of all of our programs is to help our seniors remain independent and in their homes because we prefer them there than in facilities. So I'm not here to talk about my services. What I'm here to share with you is because we are the first line of defense in some cases, people come to us for their Medicare or a PERS button. So they get to know my staff, and when they call and my staff is talking to them and they start talking about odd phone calls or love interests on the computer, yes, things like that, we then can identify potential fraud issues, not necessarily consumer, but fraud issues. And we oftentimes, if it's something that's relevant to Ron's department, we'll immediately bring it over to investigate. But one of the things that's been a growing concern for me and for the commissioners is, I don't know if you've noticed that the brick and mortar banks are closing all over the place, right? COVID-19 made us more efficient, made us go virtual, but we lost our customer service. And I don't think most of us realize the importance of bank tellers. I'm sure when you were going to banks, your tellers knew you. We called them the gatekeepers because we would get calls from tellers saying, you know, Miss Jones has been a customer for many years, and today she's here with a gentleman. We're not familiar with him. She's taking out an extraordinary amount of money, and they would be the ones that would call in these complaints. Fewer tellers, fewer gatekeepers. And so that's very concerning for us. And the other thing that I just want to share that we're seeing more and more of, technology is a cursing and a blessing. We go out there and we want our seniors to be able to access technology because many of the things we need to do, including getting COVID vaccines, we have to do online, right? And so that's great, but there's also predators online. I look at it as just another forum for predators or evil people to really take advantage. And I'm going to share just one example of a gentleman. He was in his 80s, and he had called, and he had a girlfriend from Germany who loved him, and he was sending her money. And we were trying to talk to him about, well, how do you know, are you sure this is what you want to do? Have you talked to your family about this? How do you know, that this is legitimate? And the sad thing, it was the saddest moment, Maria, she told me she loved me first. So it's a different, I don't think that we, and this generation, are used to or expecting this kind of abuse, neglect, exploitation, and fraud. And so those are the kinds of things that we're seeing at our office. Obviously, if we hear something that's consumer related, contractors regularly, particularly after COVID, were horrible, but they consider we still have problems with them, and we'll refer them to our colleagues and friends at Consumer Affairs, and they do an excellent job of investigating, and we stay the course with them to make sure if there's any other needs that they have that my department may be able to fill that were available. So these are the kinds of things we're seeing in my department. All of my staff have Post-it notes on their computers reminding them to ask certain questions to sort of gauge if there is fraud going on in certain phone calls. And then we start making our phone calls and referrals and going out and doing our own little bit of an investigation. So that's who we are. Judy knows, Mike knows, everybody at this point knows. I could talk forever about the importance of our work. I really feel very strongly, especially after watching what happened to those who are in facilities during COVID. I really feel strongly that community support services are the most important to keep people in their homes safely, whether it's a PERS button, a meal, or a home health aid. And so I could go on forever, but I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna stay for questions, and I'm gonna turn it over to my friends at Consumer Affairs who will have much more to say about that.
Thank you, Marie. I did forget one thing. Emergency entrances, fire to your right. I forgot to do that. By law, I have to tell you that. Also, to the left is an exit. In the back is an exit. But make sure you take note. I would like to introduce Mr. Ronald Heitzman. Consumer affairs is something very special to me. I noticed a lot of people don't really know or access consumer affairs. It isn't just about scammers, but contractors are scammers. And I probably could ask anybody in this room who's had to deal with a contractor in one way or another. Whether it's lawns, cutting your thing down, repairs on your bathrooms, whatever. To me, this is one of the most important departments because this gives you some place to go. If you didn't know it before, you're going to know it now. This is a really special department. And with that, I'd like to turn that over to Mr. Heitzman. Here you go. He'll explain it all.
Thank you, Judy. Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you today, and our commissioner, and Maria, and Paul. And it's great to see old friends from Manchester PD. I'm a retired Lakehurst Borough Sergeant, so we worked with Manchester regularly, and I can say their detective bureau, when we work with them, they're second to none. You're in good hands. A little bit about consumer affairs. Consumer affairs in Ocean County was established in the mid-1970s. We have consumer protection, and we also have the division of weights and measures. Weights and measures is as simple as it sounds. Weights and measures. Anything to do with gasoline at the pumps, making sure you're getting the correct amount, making sure the consumers are getting what they pay for, making sure the octane is correct, making sure there's no gasoline issues, water, contaminants. We check the marinas, home heating oil, scales, supermarkets. We do it all. Anything to do with pricing, weights. Consumer protection, as Judy said, big issue, home improvement contractors. That's a big topic right now. And we're gonna have more information as time moves on because right now, home improvement contractors have to be registered with the New Jersey State Division of Consumer Affairs in Newark. If they're not, it's a violation under our rules and regs. They can be charged with being unregistered, and our cases are generally heard in municipal court. It's also a crime, a fourth-degree crime, if a contractor is not registered properly with the state. That would be something where we would be calling Rich or Victoria up on the criminal end of it. At the end of the day, we're civil, even though our court cases are heard in municipal court. We're moving over to a licensing phase. There was new legislation signed by the governor. Contractors are soon going to be licensed as opposed to being registered with the state. Home improvement. It's changing, but it's a hot topic. We handle hundreds and hundreds of cases a year with home improvement. Automotive. Give you a little background. We just finished an automotive task force in Ocean County yesterday. We contacted motor vehicle. I didn't even know we had 241 used car dealerships in Ocean County. That's a lot of used car dealerships for Ocean County. We've visited every one of them. And I'm happy to report, and I was happy to report to the commissioner, that 95% of them are doing the right thing for the consumers. Where a few, we had to take a little stronger measures to get them in the right direction with a little guidance. We couldn't have a more supportive Board of Commissioners right now. And I couldn't have a more supportive commissioner, Gary Quinn. He has given us all the tools and resources we need to combat consumer fraud. It's a big issue. I'm going to give you, Paul's going to give you the overview of our new book, and I hope everybody has one. That's all the who, what, when, where, whys of consumer affairs. It has great phone numbers in it, great contacts. I like to tell a couple stories about what we do. That's just the law enforcement in me from being a former police officer. Has anybody ever had that I'm sorry, wrong number call. Not too long ago, a widow receives a phone call, and the gentleman on the other end says, I'm sorry, wrong number. Okay, no problem. Calls her back. You know, I really felt bad about calling you. Yeah, no problem. It's okay. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? The dialogue starts. Phone rings the next day. You know, I still feel bad about calling you. So they built up this friendship over a month. Then the question comes. I'm in a jam. I need money. Something happened. No problem. I'll whatever you need. About a month later, and $25,000 later, she says, I think something's wrong. She contacts Consumer Affairs at the state level. State contacts us. Here's the problem. The money was already out of the country. That's one example. If anybody follows the news, I don't know if recently you saw, we did a media release out of Lakehurst. If anybody is not familiar, and I'm sure most may be, skimming device. They're little devices that can be placed inside gas pumps. And basically what they do is they take your information and they take your identity. You put your card in a pump, or the attendant puts your card in a pump, and they have your information. It happens in Ocean County because we found two during routine inspections in a town on the southern end of the county last year, and we notified the prosecutor's office. Where the Lakehurst case came in, we had a call, potential skimming device, out of business. The short story of it is, it didn't turn out to be a skimming device. After we inspected everything, the gas attendant was photographing the consumer's cards at the pump and then making purchases. So when you hand someone your card, make sure you get it right back. $40,000 in purchases. So when management caught on to it, they let this guy go. And he's out of the area, and we had to figure out how to get him back because we wanted to talk to him. So we call him up with management present. Management says, because they wanted to have a good rapport with us, because we told them, look, you don't tell us who it is, we're coming after you. We tell the guy, come on back down. We're so short. He wants to give you your job back. He showed up. It's a long shot, but he showed up. Except he didn't find the gas station owner wanting to give him his job back. He found 3 Lakehurst Borough police officers and 3 county investigators with a lot of questions for him. Another case we had, this is a weights and measures case. The importance of weights and measures. Supermarket chain. We all go to the supermarket. We get a complaint. My boar's head turkey, let's say, because we all know how expensive cold carts are. We're all consumers and we all go food shopping. You know, I think it was underweight. Let's say it was a pound, they gave me 3/4 of a pound. That might not sound serious, but when we went there and realized all the prepackaged goods, 189 of them were underweight, they're making a lot of money on the consumers. So we had that store into court, and they paid a hefty fine for that. There's so many things we do in consumer affairs. I could talk all day. And I know my time is limited, and I'll be happy to stay afterwards. And Judy's already going. And my wife tells me all the time, honey, you made your point, stop. Those are just some of the examples of things we've done. We have great partners in the county, senior services. When Maria says she comes across the hall, we've also gone to her. We had a case on the Barrier Island where we went to visit a consumer. They had disabilities, they couldn't get out of the house, but when my investigators went there, they came back and said, Ron, we got to do something for them. The wife is really in big trouble. She can't get her husband out of bed. The place is in deplorable condition. What can we do? Let me call Maria. Let's see what services we have. So it's not, in the county, just consumer affairs. You have senior services as well. You know, you have veteran services. We're all a team, and it takes a team to make things happen for you. So my motto at Consumer Affairs has always been, take advantage of us and our services before somebody takes advantage of you. We're here for you. We'll do anything we can for you. And one last thing before Judy gives me the next. In addition to our services, we do public outreach. If you can't make it to us, we will come to you. Call us. We're there, like I said, every day, and your complaints are important to us. One of the things we've learned, and one of the things I've learned from Judy, and she's made this a top priority for me, is making our residents, especially our seniors, realize it's okay to tell us you're the victim of a scam. It's not easy at any age to admit to your family or somebody that you've been the victim of fraud. We're here for you. The information's confidential. We're not going to share it. And if we feel as though it rises to a level of a crime, we're going to contact Manchester PD. And Manchester PD has contacted us at times, and we work with the prosecutor's office, and we're a big family in law enforcement. So take advantage of our services, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'll be here afterwards if you have any questions.
Any questions for him now? Does anybody have a question for him right now? Can you come up front?
Can I stay right here?
Go ahead. Say it loud.
Real quick question, and
Stand up, stand up.
I'm sure Ron, you're the one to answer this. You go to the self-checkout, whatever, any register, you get the option to tap, insert, or slide your card. Is tapping safer? Does it give you a level of protection against the skimmer?
Good question. Thank you. The best advice I can give you when you're using a card is to use a credit card as opposed to a debit card. The reason is banks with the credit cards are more likely to refund your money right away. When you use a credit card, it's more like cash, and it's harder to get back. We do inspect those self-checkouts, the weighing devices. They're all inspected by weights and measures, but there would be no difference with the tap or the swipe. If there's a skimming device in there, it would be in there. We haven't found any skimming devices in any supermarket registers in Ocean County, just to put everybody at ease.
For business and private persons, fraud of funds going out internationally, does the federal government, the investigators of the Security Exchange or FBI step in?
Yes, to answer your question. And if you, not the Secret Service, but if you're talking about federal agencies, we make the notifications. So if you contact us, it doesn't fall within our jurisdiction, we refer it. So we make sure every complaint received, if it doesn't fall under Consumer Affairs, goes to the appropriate agency, whether it's municipal, state, or federal.
I had someone come to me about a timeshare scam in Atlantic City. Do you handle those kind of issues?
Yes. We'll look at the issue, but a lot of times those would be referred out.
Was that interesting or what? Did you get a lot of information out of that? You have a question? Yeah, want to stand up? Take your mask off to talk. This is what I thought you needed to hear. This is a very special department, and I really feel that people now know that they have someplace to go, that you're not alone. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for this beautiful and very helpful seminar on scamming or fraud. Anyway, what if somebody was scammed, the money was wired and went out for a couple of months already, and then reported to the FTC and to the bank? Is there any way that it will be recovered, the money lost, or I don't know, or in your experience or in your investigation, you were able to succeed to get back the money lost, or you were able to know who this company that is maliciously, transacting all this kind of business? And I don't know. So how would you resolve that?
Okay, Paul's going to address your question, but generally, he'll go into detail because he's had a lot of experience with that, but generally, no. If the money leaves the country, it's hard to retrieve.
Not the country, but just locally?
Locally, yes. We've recovered money locally through investigative processes to find out where the money went through banking and other sources, yes.
To follow up that one, you have all the phone numbers, and then all these phone numbers maybe are phony or whatever, or all the area codes coming from everywhere. Would that be able to help the investigator to locate where they are, who they, which company is this, and if the platform they're using is also fraudulent or a scammer?
I didn't understand. Are you asking me about?
Yeah,
about
if
the
you
phone
are
numbers?
if you are provided with all the phone numbers that they used, will that be helpful for your investigation or to
Yeah.
locate where they are, where
Yes,
they are
sir.
located?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Someone told me that on the key fob, you have a lot of information, private information. Is that true?
Depending
The
on
key fob for your car?
for your car,
Yes.
it depends on what your dealership inputs into that key fob. That's a great question, but when you first started asking me the question, I'm thinking, what's a key fob? What's it used for besides your car?
That's why I said car.
Because fobs are used, quite a bit. I
Right.
mean, you go on vacation, right? You get a fob that does everything if you're in a theme park, and the first thing they tell you to do is discard it, destroy it when you leave, because all your personal information's on that card.
Right.
So generally, I don't think your personal information would be on a key fob for your car from a dealership, but that's a question to pose to your dealership. What did you put on the card? Is it just to unlock my car? Does it retrieve anything if you have Bluetooth in your car? That'd be something to see what they input.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, what about Facebook? Like, I'll put on something on Facebook and then they'll like give me answers or like tell me what to say and hint, because how do they pay attention to what you're putting on Facebook?
My best advice with Facebook, stay off of Facebook. And I mean that because people are out there that are fishing for your information. Not only on Facebook, email. This is your bank. Please verify your information. But it's not your bank. It looks just like your bank. The same thing happens on Facebook. So Facebook is to me, something that was created just to stay in touch with people you went to school with and family. But anything beyond that, I would steer completely clear of social media.
I normally use my debit card, but once in a while when I go to a gas station, there's two charges on it, $1 and then the correct amount that I got gas for. What's that all about?
A lot of gas stations, they put a dollar hold on it, and then when they do their tallies at the end of the day, they charge your card. There should be no difference next day for the total purchase, unless they're posting in a conspicuous place that there's some type of a service fee, which I haven't had any complaints on service fees yet with gas stations. But when you look at your, if you're doing online statements and you look at your statement the next day, you should have an accurate number for your purchase.
Hi, I'm Kaya, Village 2. Do I have to say I don't know how to say. Anyway, I just wanted to bring to your attention. I got the latest was Xfinity, an email. Your account has been suspended, and right away, instead of dealing with that email and getting concerned, I picked up the phone. I called Xfinity directly because it clearly said Xfinity. I mean, you got to be careful of that stuff.
Absolutely, and it's not just Xfinity. It's the gas company. It's a gentleman calling saying, and we get these too, your son is under arrest. I'm an attorney. We need bail money. These happen all the time. It's not just Xfinity. And Commissioner Kelly asked me a question last week at a meeting when we were with Commissioner Quinn, and he said, what do you do when you get these calls? Just hang up. That's your best protection. Just hang up. And we're going to be doing a new campaign at Consumer Affairs with the Commissioner titled Just Hang Up with these phone scams. They happen all the time. It's not just Xfinity, New Jersey Natural Gas. There's a new one out. The New Jersey State Division of Consumer Affairs put out a press release. It was yesterday, Paul? There's people out there now posing as consumer affairs investigators. We're never going to contact you for your personal information. You contact us. You can contact us online. You can come in person. You can call us. We'll never call you. We're never going to solicit. But there's people out there now saying, we're consumer affairs investigators. We'll help you solve your case for a fee. It's not us. Okay. Paul Wennick has been in my office for many years, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Paul, if you want to come up, Paul's going to talk a little bit about our new book.
Boss. That's my boss. That's my bigger boss. I've been an investigator right now for over 12 years. I came back out of retirement to do my job. I used to work undercover narcotics many years ago. And all I can tell you right now, how many of you think that you're a private citizen? There is nothing private about any one of you. Every time you hit that computer, every time you buy something in the store that runs up on a tab, they know everything about you. They can go so close as to tell you how many sheets of toilet paper you buy. That's the honest to God truth. There's nothing private anymore. One of the things I want to tell you about telephones, especially the seniors, do me a favor, the most important thing, do not answer your phones unless you know it's your family or friends. Let it go to voicemail. Then you can go delete, delete, delete. Because when you go to voicemail, you'll notice somebody's going to call you. There's no sound. They're just fishing for you to see if you're going to answer. Once you answer and say yes, the computer will starts. and they find out, especially if your phone is hooked up to your computer. They go right into your computer. There's no privacy anywhere. I'm just going to be a little bit lighter on some of the topics that we cover. My job is I do investigations, interrogations, I take people to court. I work with all the agencies, the police department, State Department, and the federal agencies. We meet once a year, have a big meeting with FBI, Secret Service, Treasury Department if we need it. A lot of the things that you're talking about that are going overseas, we've tracked phone calls that have local numbers, but they end up in the mountains of Afghanistan, Korea, Israel. They're all over. There's schools for people. Just like you go into a classroom, they teach you how to scam. Their job is to make phone calls each day. And if they get one or two, they made the money. It's millions, I think last year it was 80 billion, not million, billion dollars were taken away from American citizens. Now that's just America, it happens all over. A couple things I want to just make a little light. See this ear? This is a left ear. A left ear represents a left ear. How many people answer the phone, put the phone to their left ear? Okay, that's the emotional side of your brain. That's the emotional side. So when you pick up the phone, you'll listen, you'll be conned into almost anything. Take that phone, especially if a salesman is getting up, switch it to the other side. The other side is the business brain. You will hang up on him. This is true. I learned this many, many years ago in college from a psychologist. That's how the brain works. There's so many little tricks, but scamming is a big, big business. I told you about the silent calls. People had mentioned about, we're getting a lot of phone calls into the office now about the 3.5% surcharge on your credit cards. It's all perfectly legal. It's all perfectly legal because all businesses were paying that additional 3.5%. So now they're able to recoup. On contracts, senior developments, if you're having contractors work for you, if it's $500 or more on that contract, you need a contract. You need a contractor's number on it. You also need a copy of their insurance. If you do not have that, you will be calling us. Because sometimes the cheapest price becomes the most expensive price by having it redone. Now we take these, part of my job is when I do these investigations and interrogations, we work with all the departments, the police departments, and as soon as it hits $75,000, we work in conjunction with the prosecutor's office. And if it goes higher, we'll work with federal agencies to work on this. I mean, how many people here moved to Ocean County? You live in one of the greatest counties in the state of New Jersey. I worked in several counties. This is a county, it's unbelievable how they take care of their citizens. And I used to call him freeholder, now you're commissioner. Okay, it's an awesome office what they do, and you cannot imagine how busy they are answering people's complaints. And with us, walk in, call, we give you our numbers to call. The question, if you have a question, if you have a contract, we will review your contracts for free, no charge, and check it out to make sure it's all legit. Don't take it upon yourself, because these people are good out there. I mean, like we spoke about the phone calls. We've gone over literature and had to find something minute on it that was different to make it illegal. That's how good they are. If you get calls from anybody, like they say, call that bank, call that business to see if they called. Somebody mentioned about a computer. When you go on to email, you have two little square boxes alongside your email. One on the right to open it up. The second one is to investigate. It's a clear little box. Click that little box. That tells you who that's coming from. If it's coming from the bank, it's going to let you know it's from the bank. Otherwise, it's going to give you a bunch of jumbled numbers. You know that's a scam. It's very easy to do. All you got to do is left click all the way to the little clear box, and it'll tell you where that's coming from. Now, we used to have in our office a file cabinet with all different pages on it where people come and complain. And Ron and the commissioner decided one day they're going to combine all our pamphlets into one little booklet. This little booklet is so good. We all reviewed it. The investigators reviewed it before it went out to print. We all made some changes. This is your little Bible for scams. All the departments are in here. Numbers to reach people if you have any questions. Our office will answer your questions, and if you have any questions, you can walk into the office. We will sit down with you and go over to see if you have a problem. This is all your tax money at work. People use us. We help you. We find a lot of scams. They were talking about gasoline scams. I was on my way out to Ohio for my kid brother's funeral one year. He had died of cancer. And all of a sudden, I'm near Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden I couldn't get gas. I called up Exxon, what's the matter? How are you getting gas in Pittsburgh when your card was just used in Brooklyn? They opened it up to let me use my card. I had to go back. They reissued me new cards. When you go to the gas station, you give them the card. You watch that card. You want that card right back. You do not want to leave that card in the pump. Ask it right back, or you get out and take the card. Those are all little tricks. I can go on and on. Let's see what. Wait a minute. At my age. How many people remember the word caveat emptor? Buyer beware. Now we have consumer affairs. That was the end of caveat emptor. All right. If anybody has any questions, what we do, we take people to court. We imprison to get people put in prison, hard prison. If it's a large enough number, they don't go to county prison, they go to state prison. And I have yet to see one of our people go to federal prison yet, but they're there. We've had people that we've caught. We arrested them, but we had to turn them over to the state of Louisiana. We had to turn them over to the state of Texas, because they do crime. They wait for bad conditions that happen, like floods and storms. They go into that area and they start ripping people off. This is a business. I'm not going to take too long. I do scam presentations. It's part of my job. I go after people like you. I give a presentation. I have videos that we do. If you have any questions, please call. We will answer them. We will come out to talk to you, and we will assist you in any way.
Thank you. And with him, because he said that, is there any questions for him? But also, if you're interested, I was thinking of having a little program to have private little seminars on this kind of issue. That's why when you signed in, I asked you if you wanted more, because I firmly believe, I'm sure you have more questions that you don't really want to ask right now. Did you find this information really helpful? Thank you very much.
One other thing I want to tell you people, you have one of the greatest organizations right here with these private communities. Please communicate with each other. Talk to each other. Don't be shy, be afraid. I mean, the best of us get scammed. I had to change my cards several times, because even as investigators, once they find out, they track us, and we have to change our cards. So nobody is going to be safe. Communicate with each other, talk to each other. If you have a problem or a question, start asking. If you see contractors riding around in your community with no names on a truck, the light should go on. Call your office here and check on that contractor and make sure that he's legit. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I really feel that these are very important issues. I've been scammed on my computer and I paid the price. But that was before I got smart. And I think the computer, we're all a little bit embarrassed about that. I guarantee some of us have been hit with that. They freeze your computer, you got to pay for it to get undone, right? That's why you have to have a good protection on your computer. Now, not last but least, Richard and Victoria. These are our best of our finest Manchester police and detectives. They have been dealing with some issues in our town, and I have to say, they're the ones that really initiated me to do this, because they have been on the forefront for you. And I'm going to let them explain. I have the highest regard for them. You don't know what they do. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Very happy to be here. Hope we give you some good information. The gentleman before us and Maria gave you guys a lot of good information so far. I think that's fantastic. So a lot of what we're going to say might be a little redundant, but for the most part, we'll get out whatever information we can. We do have a bunch of pamphlets out here which pretty much are going to cover some of the scams that I'm talking about right now, and some other ways of communicating to check on your credit and whatnot. So I've been a detective for 22 years, and I've seen a lot of good people fall victim to scams. I've seen bank accounts depleted. I've seen life savings, retirement funds. I've seen inheritance money all just get wiped out. We had one particular instance where a person gave away all their money and then sold their home in order to give more money in the name of internet love. And we've talked about that briefly before. I'll get into that a little bit more later. I've seen the progression of scams through the various forms of communication, from the phones to the emails to the text messages, and now, unfortunately, social media. And I've seen the evolution of these scams to new and improved ones, which are now more effective and more convincing. I've also seen the difficulties that law enforcement has faces in investigating these crimes, the struggles in identifying scammers and locating them, as well as their associates, the jurisdictional issues that we have that Ron had spoken about in terms of who's got the lead, who's in charge, the local, federal, state jurisdictions, and unfortunately the near impossible task of cracking down on all these criminal enterprises. But increasing the public awareness and educating the public, I think, is the valuable and crucial way for people to protect themselves. It's probably the most effective way at this point with what we're seeing. Folks, when you send your money away, it's too late, it's gone. It really is. It's highly unlikely that you're getting your money back, especially if it goes overseas. You have to remember that. And I think if there's anything that you could take away from this seminar, at least from what I have to say, it would be 3 simple principles. Number 1, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's very simple. Hang up the phone. Delete the email. Delete the text message. Number 2 would be, if something doesn't seem right and the flags are raising up and you have this gut feeling, follow your gut instinct, follow your intuition, your sixth sense, call it what you will. Don't do it. Just hang up the phone. If you do get caught up in a situation and you happen to be engaged in a conversation with a scammer, well, whether it be through the email or text message or even by the phone, slow yourself down. Give yourself time to think about it. This lady spoke about how she was scammed out of $7,000. She was smart enough to slow it down and think about it, and that could have saved her triple, double, the amount of what she had put out. So you can be as embarrassed as you want, but you took the time to slow down, and that was important. So you should at least be, happy with the fact that you're able to do that. A lot of people can't do that, and we talked about that with the amount of money that's going out, and I'll tell you some stories too. You have to recognize that scammers use a stress-induced tactic. They want pressure on you. They don't want you to have time to think about what you're doing. They want a quick response. They want to force you into a rash decision. They might use blackmail for added pressure, and most of the time they target folks that come across as vulnerable. Maybe you've fallen on hard times. Maybe you've lost a loved one. You're having financial difficulties. Or, again, the big one that we keep talking about, you're lonely and you're looking for companionship. You see that a lot. That seems to be the one where they're getting a lot of people. In Manchester, we had about 350 fraud reports last year. I'm going to go through a list of some of them that are common. You've probably heard of some of them. Some you might not have. You might know of others that we didn't mention. But either way, it's like I said, this is where it's worth talking about it and bringing them out in the open. You've heard of the lottery scam, right? That's an older one, but it's still going on. They claim you won the lottery. So what do? You have to send them money to pay for taxes or fees in order for that money to be released. There are no funds. You're simply giving your money away. They might ask for ridiculous requests for payment in the form of gift cards, prepaid debit cards, green dot cards, iTunes cards, vanilla debit cards, MoneyGrams, or just simply wiring the money out. The biggest one that we had was a lottery scam that amounted in the person giving over $200,000. Yeah, that's a lot. The tech support scam was talked about. These are the scams designed to allow remote access to your computer so that scammers can obtain your personal information. How does it work? You get a pop-up or an urgent message, saying that your computer is infected with malware or a virus. You may see it from a well-known company, maybe like Apple comes up as Apple, Windows, or Microsoft, or even maybe your internet provider. The message tells you that you have a virus and you have to contact a particular number. These scammers want to sell you useless services. They want to steal your credit card information, your bank account information, your personal information. They want to get access to your computer. If they get access to your computer, they install the malware, and now they can control your computer. Do not perform any functions that come up on your computer. Simply X out of it or contact a reputable company if you think that you have a virus. Don't call the number. The grandparent scam, have you heard of that one? That's the bail scam that we spoke about. You receive a phone call, your relative's in jail, they need money. This is not how the judicial system works. You're going to get a call from your relative if there's an issue. You also might get a call where somebody says, your relative was involved in an accident, and in order for them to, have medical treatment, you need to pay a certain amount of money. That's not how it works either. We know that. You're going to get treatment. You'll deal with the money aspect of it later. With the advent of AI technology, the artificial intelligence, you have to be careful of this one. This is new. Scammers are now recording your voices from videos on your social media, and they're using your voice recognition after they get information and phone numbers for your relatives, and they're calling them using that voice. So when you're talking on a phone, you think you're talking to a relative. Crazy. The best way to combat that would be to ask personal questions to that person, something that only you would know and they would know. We still have the IRS imposter scam. That's a problem. You get contacted by email or phone saying that you owe money or back taxes. You have to pay the debt, or you're going to get arrested or lose your house, or simply incur more taxes. Obviously, we know the IRS will only contact you by mail. There's a website, irs.gov. You can call them for contact them for information. You're not going to get the IRS looking for money from you in a form of a gift card, or so it's not going to happen. But this happens all the time. Fraudulent posting scams now we're seeing. We touched on that with social media. Scammers are posting illegitimate jobs to various websites. The victims are applying, and then they're sending an email requesting personal information, and then they're just giving away your information. The middle person scam, I'm not sure what they call it, but this is where they call you and say, hey, you want to make some money? Go ahead, we're going to send you this package, take this package and mail it to another location. What's essentially happening is your address is coming up as the place where this money is going to once it's stolen out of a victim's account or whatever it might be. So the police are showing up at your house. You are now involved in that crime, and you're not getting any money. The companion scam is the most disheartening one, I think, because on two aspects of it, you're losing your money and your heart is getting broken. There are seriously people out there that believe and truly believe, even being told over and over again that they're being scammed, that they have a loving relationship online and that this person will eventually meet up with them and things are going to work out. They contact you on social media at first and they start a friendship or a relationship. The scammer's intention is to establish a relationship as quickly as possible, endear him or herself to the victim, and gain their trust. Scammers may propose a marriage and make plans to meet up with that person, but it never happens. We never see it happen, obviously. Eventually, they start asking for money. The relationship progresses, and then so does the amount of the money that they're asking for. And this goes on and on and on. And this is the instance I talk about where somebody lost their house over it. To this day, speaking with them, they still believe that this person loves them, and eventually this is going to work itself out. And they continue, and that's when we call social services and set them up and hopefully get some resolution for them. I had a particular instance one time I thought was interesting. I've heard so many people say how embarrassed they've been if they've fallen for a scam. And here I am with 22 years on the job and experience in this kind of stuff, and it almost happened to me not long ago. And it came at a time where I was vulnerable. What happened was I had I received a alert from my bank on my phone that my card was used. So you look at it, you see the charges. I said, okay. I called my wife. No, I didn't make them. I called the bank, and the bank says, yeah, no problem. Those are not your charges. You didn't approve them. Sure, we'll take care of it. We'll absorb it, and you're good. We'll cancel your account. We'll send you a new card in 2 weeks. I said, great. 2 weeks later, I get the card. The same day I get that card, I get another alert on my phone. $500 withdrawal, $500 withdrawal, 3 of them. from my account. I'm like, this is absolutely crazy. Now, my mind's already thinking, I've already been scammed once. It's going to happen again. This is crazy. So now I'm in this thought process of, I got to take care of this. I can't have any more money out of my account. I got to make sure I get this taken care of. No quicker than I can flip over my card and look at the number to call, I get a phone call from the same number that's on my card. Okay, the bank's calling me. They're on top of this. I pick up the phone, I start talking. The guy's like, no problem, we're going to take care of this for you. We'll go through the situation, go through this and that. I noticed that he was giving me bits and pieces of information. He didn't have all of it. It makes sense now because he didn't have it. He's looking for it. He's soliciting for me. He wanted me to give it to him. He said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take your account, the money that's left in it. We're going to get you back what you lost. We're going to stop those pending charges. We're going to get all that money, and we're going to put it aside, and then we're going to open up a new account. We're going to put it back in there. But what you need to do is you need to open up a Zelle account. So now I'm online looking at it. On the bottom, it says, open up a Zelle account. It's like a new form of, passing money around. I'm like, all right. I'm like, but that sounds kind of fishy. Why do I need to do that? Just open up another account, put my money in there. What's the deal? I don't understand what's going on. He wanted me to open up this account, dump my money out of my account into it, and then put it into another account, which was my account, but it wasn't my account. It was going to be their account, right? So I was going to take my money and voluntarily put it into their account. And I'm like, this guy's out of his mind. So that was it when I realized it. You talked about the phone numbers. They spoof phone numbers. They take a phone number, a legitimate phone number, and they call from it. So in the end of that conversation, I said, pal, I'm going to call my bank, and I appreciate your time, but I'm just going to call when I get a chance to talk to the representative. No, he's trying to keep me on the phone. Ultimately, I hang up, he calls me back, I hang up again, I call my bank, said, I just want to verify if I had any issues with my account. They said, no, everything's fine. I said, all right. They took the phone number for the bank, and they called me from it. They spoofed phone numbers. So for a while, years ago, I used to go on there and block the number. I'd get 30 calls a day. Block the number. I'm just blocking a number of random people throughout the country that are never going to call me. They're just taking these numbers, and then they're calling from them because they have their own little setup. They're not calling from that particular number. It just shows that they're calling from a number. So you have to be very careful with these numbers. So again, we touched on it. I'll say, some of the things that we can do is, number one, be skeptical of urgency. We talked about the tactic, the stress-induced tactic. They want to create that sense of urgency to pressure you to making a hasty decision. So take your time, verify the urgent request for money or personal information. Use strong security measures, implement strong passwords, use that double authentication where they, you have a password sent to your email and use that password or your phone. Keep up with your software and devices, update them. This will prevent from hacking and phishing attempts. And of course, safeguard your personal information. Never share personal, financial, or account information with anyone other than those that you trust. Even if you provide that if they're providing you with partial information, that doesn't mean they have all of it. They're soliciting you to give the rest of it. That's what they tried to do to me. They gave me the first 3 numbers of my bank account because they knew the bank, so they're the same, right? And all of a sudden, they want me to give the rest, which didn't happen, but I could see where I was vulnerable and may have just been desperate. And that's what happens to a lot of folks. It has nothing to do with, you're stupid or you don't know what you're doing. It's vulnerability. Something's going on in your life. It's preventing you from thinking the way you would normally think, logically, rationally. And it happens. It happens to so many people. I think there were over 2.6 million reports of just incidents where money was taken throughout the nation in 22 and 23, around the same. The only difference between 22 and 23 is that more money came. So they're getting more money from people, which means they're spending more time with these people. They're more intimate with people. They're getting close, they're talking more. So you have to be super careful. Let's see. Verify the source. We talked about that. I think Ron touched on it. Contact the organization directly using a verified number or an email address. Go online, research it. Always double check the legitimacy of any unsolicited communication, whether it's an email, phone call, or text message. If you don't like the way it looks, get rid of it. If it's that important, they're going to send you correspondence in the mail. They're going to reach back out to you and they'll give you time to verify it. Don't act hasty. Stay informed about common and emerging scams, following trusted sources. That pamphlet is fantastic. Hold on to that. That's going to give you a lot of information. I think I have a couple printouts too. Does that have the credit reporting agencies in it? All right, so it's all in there. So I have that form over there. You're not going to need that if it's already in there. Somebody talked about using their debit card a lot as opposed to a credit card. It's very true. The banks with a credit card, I believe they're FDIC insured. That might be the case. So you know, you call them up and say, hey, I've been scammed, you didn't make the approval, no problem, we'll absorb it, give you a new card, it's fine. They write it off and our interest rates go up, no big deal. But if you're using that debit card, it links directly to your account. So if that information is compromised, whatever's in your account, it's gone. And with these scams, what you're doing is you're voluntarily taking this money out of your bank account. You're voluntarily making these purchases for these debit cards or wiring money, transferring money. So when you go back and say, hey, I got to get my money back, I was scammed, they're going to say, no, you approved your transaction. That's on you. That's not on us. So a little different. So be careful using those debit cards, especially if those PIN numbers get taken. That money is directly out of your bank account, not from some bank with credit. So be careful of that. We have information up there on identity theft. I'm sure that's covered in. All right, it's all there too. I'm trying to think if there's any more. Does anybody have any questions in regards to? Go ahead.
Okay, so you said don't use a debit card, but a lot of debit cards you could use as debit or credit. So if you're bypassing and using it as credit, then it becomes a safer way, correct?
Yes, credit is going to be a lot better to use than debit. I'm not saying you can't use it. You just have to be super careful with. Yep. Obviously, we could touch on that if you want. I have a couple things to talk about that in terms of how to safeguard yourself from identity theft. But yes, when it comes to the credit card, you're safer using your credit card. If you are going to use it, you got to be careful with those machines that are put on top of the ATM machines. We've had those in our town. We're scanning cards, getting all your information. So be careful. At home, financial records, Social Security cards, Medicare cards, keep them in a safe place. Make sure you're shredding your papers if you don't need them. Don't just throw them in the trash. People can certainly open them back up and read your information. When you're doing business, be careful with giving out your Social Security. We know when you go to the doctors, you certainly have to do that. And of course, again, personal information, be careful what you're giving out through the emails.
Two short questions. One, they talked about, I think it's AI with your copying your voice. How about your answering machines when you're saying, I'm not here, call back later? Can they copy your voice from your voice?
I don't. The way things go now with the advancement technology, who knows what they can do? I think it's just best to be careful. Whenever you're answering a phone call, just remember your voice could be recorded, so that could be used in the future. You're just going to have to safeguard whatever conversation you have with somebody. Just know that who you're talking to is who it is, and you can do that by verifying personal information.
But your voicemail, you leave a message on there, it goes on even if you don't answer your phone.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, is that something that could potentially happen? I would say that's possible. I don't know.
The other one was, you hear all these things on TV about people getting a hold of your information about your house and selling your homes. I have a hard time understanding how that's done, but are these insurance policies worth it, or?
I don't want my policies on. We did have a particular case. We ended up resolving it. It was just a matter of a mess up, the way something was written out. But we thought that somebody had actually sold somebody's house from underneath them.
Yeah.
It turned out that it was a mix-up in Social Security numbers on all the paperwork, and it was worked out. But those are all possibilities. You're saying something about insurance?
Well, they're trying to sell you some sort of insurances to protect this from happening.
You have to be so careful with that. With the way insurances are nowadays, everybody's got insurance for everything.
I'm going to hear them advertised on reputable radio stations like WOR. And I don't know. Maybe they're not reputable either.
It's a case by case. It's very difficult. It's a case by case. I can't give you answers for every single scam that comes around. I would just say use your best judgment. If you're ever in a pinch and you don't know, slow it down and call a trusted person, a family member, a relative. Call the police. If we can find the answer for you, we certainly will.
We have a very unexpected guest. We have our Sheriff Mastronardi here. We'll go back to this gentleman. But we also left information on what that gentleman talked about, registering your deed, so no one can steal your deed. With that, I'd like to introduce Mastronardi.
Good morning, everybody. Come on, let's go. Such a young crowd, right? Yeah, good to see everyone. Listen, I just stopped by for a minute. I see Freeholder Quinn here, and I got to tell you, we've done a lot together over the last couple of years. I still call them freeholders, by the way. Keep the camera rolling. They're freeholders. Commissioners, but what's better is a good friend to public safety. He has done so much to work with us, with the Sheriff's Office, improved us. For those who don't know, we now have a shooting range for the county law enforcement. We have 1,500 officers that have to qualify a year, twice a year, and then other additional qualifications with rifles and tasers and everything else. And with his assistance, we bought a facility because we looked all over. We get restricted. Land is not cheap in Ocean County anymore. We all know that. And there's not big parcels where we can't interfere with the public. But we did buy a range shooters down on exit 58, and that's going to be an in-service training facility for all the police law enforcement in the county, and it's under the police academy. So I thank Freeholder Quinn. Give him a round of applause because he has done a fantastic job for us. Also getting equipment. We have light towers. We have camera towers. We've solved so many different crimes. And there's a lot of things that we do at the Sheriff's Office. We work obviously with Manchester. We'll be out there. I spoke to the chief yesterday. We're going to be doing something at Sarco. You know, we've had some incidents out there with some drownings. We're going to assist them, which we do. Yesterday we were in Lakewood, the day before in Toms River for power outages, so we're available. And we also have people on special assignment. We have Detective Dow, who's assigned to the Auto Theft Task Force. And just yesterday morning, we had a group come down from Newark, and they had a stolen Escalade, and they were in Bricktown looking to steal another car. They picked up on it with license plate readers, etc. And our officer, along with the State Police Task Force, went up to Essex County, and they were following the vehicle. They located it, and they were going to make the arrest when all of a sudden the actors in the car started doing a drive-by shooting and shooting at people. They hit one person, and our officers, thank God, is okay, and they made 5 arrests. So we're out there, even though we're not necessarily in Ocean County, what we do affects the safety of the people in Ocean County. So it's very important that, that our Freeholder Quinn supports that activity, assign an officer to the Auto Theft Task Force. We have one assigned to the FBI, and he came down last week. I guess you saw in Toms River, we had the incident where the gentleman actually shot and killed a lady over here in Manchester. It was our U.S. Marshals, our officers assigned to U.S. Marshals, who were able to locate him. And when they located him, he fired 4 rounds at them. Then Toms River, and we assisted with the county SWAT team, and our officers assigned to that. As a result of some of the technology we have, thanks to Freeholder Quinn, we were able to have drones. So sitting in my car at the scene, I got there very shortly, sitting in my car, I was able to look from the phone and see the drone footage, you know, that was available as every action was taken, as he spent about 40 rounds at the police officers that were there, all of us, including myself. So he ultimately took his own life, but in the process, we were able to take a little drone, Sergeant Fennessy, and we were able, after they knocked in the front door, to put the drone in the house. So our drone was flying around the house. And the gentleman took the drone at one point, and we thought he destroyed it, but we later recovered. He put it on a shelf for us, so we got it back. Then we put the drone back in, at which point the flashbang went off, and we could see everything. So what my point is that your Sheriff's Office, working with Manchester and the rest of the departments in the county, we're able to do so much with the assets that we have afforded us. You know, for each town to buy a $50,000 drone may not be reasonable, but we have the talent. We're fortunate enough to have that, and we go out there. One of the things I do, where's June? June's back here somewhere. Oh, there she is. This is June from our office. She took a ride. She's in charge of Project Lifesaver, right? So if you know anybody who needs assistance with a band, we're doing all the towns in the county. We have about 100 people right now, is that right? registered. We do both. We have Angel Sense, which is a GPS band that can tell you exactly where the person is if they go missing or wandering. We use it for autistic young people, and we use it obviously for some senior citizens that need some assistance. And it's a free charge, thanks to Freolda Quinn. We have about 100 people registered. And if you need anything, you just see June here. She'll get you, certainly squared away and help the people of the county and protect them. It's come in, as I said, we have Project Lifesaver, which is a radio frequency. And we also have the Angel Sense, which is a GPS right from your phone so you can monitor. Other things we do is the alert. We have reports back on the back desk. You can get the alerts, whether weather, crime, whatever. We put them out. You can sign up for them. Again, no charge to anything we do. We're pretty reasonable, thanks to Freolda Quinn. But anyhow, we're just here to tell you that our office is dedicated to helping the locals. As I say, we go out there. We have county patrols out all the time to assist the locals whenever incident comes up. And we continue to serve the county. We're very proud of that. We had a retention problem, but we've sort of overcome that right now, where we're not losing everybody. Lacey Township has 40 officers. 20 of them came from our agency in the last 8 years. So we go to Lacey, we know everybody down there. But it is getting harder. Law enforcement got picked on, unfortunately. In this county, thanks to you, the residents of this county, we have support. We know that by and large, we do an excellent job. And if we don't, we should be held accountable. Our K-9 under Sergeant Fennessy does a great job. He runs a drone program. But we have 2 drone vehicles that respond automatically. They go up there. We just did a job in Lakewood, a narcotics job. They go out looking for missing persons. They have thermal on them. So anyhow, my point of being here today, we're here working with your chief, your department, and I can't thank the Freeholders enough for their support over the last 11 years, whatever. As we continue to move forward, I know we're looking at building a new building for the sheriff's office. Right now we have 9 different locations, and we're trying to get under one roof and one umbrella. So other than that, I apologize. I'm just running from meeting to meeting, but June will be here for a little bit, and she can take any information you may have. All right? And I thank you, and everybody enjoy their summer. Thank you very much.
I thought it was important because of the lifesaver, and that some people have never met our sheriff, and he has a lot of information, and he affects everything we do in our police department. So with that, there will be information on the back for the lifesaver, correct? Okay, and I'd like to bring our detective back. If we have more questions for him, okay, thank you, man. Thank you, Sheriff, for coming. We appreciate it. He's a very special man. He always answers his phone.
I have a question about the deeds for the houses, that they can steal your house. And somebody said register it. Where would you register so that someone cannot have? Where is it?
Is it in one of your booklets? Here.
They might be out because I didn't see one over there.
The county clerk's office, you can do it online, or they have paper forms that you can fill out. Now, what they'll do is if somebody tries to, record your deed, a deed for your house, they'll notify you. That's what they'll do. But you can get it online at the county clerk's office.
Okay, they notify you, and how quickly can you stop it?
They don't stop it. I will say this. The county clerk doesn't stop it. What they do is it's just a system to notify you that somebody has filed something. And then you're going to have to go down there, find out who it is, and an investigation will have to take place from there. But it's just a notification as far as I know.
Do you have a question? Here, I'll give you the mic. You're right here.
I was wondering if you could find out if someone has the tracker on your car or in your car.
A tracker on your car. Ooh, we've seen that a few times. It's very scary. you could hide those things anywhere. My recommendation would be if you feel like there may be one on there, go to your dealership or mechanic and have them do an overhaul of your car and see if they can find anything that they went to the mechanic and they couldn't find it. And what's the suspicion that it had a tracker on it? Was there information coming out that it was?
Yes. The person involved is divorced, and every time she goes somewhere, her husband is there.
Okay, so that turns out, it seems like that would be more of a criminal matter in that point, and we would investigate that. If we found that there may or may not be reason to believe that there's something on it, we'd seize that car. And then there wouldn't have to worry about it, and then we'll have to figure out how to get that off, you know, or just shut down that particular tracking device. Is this something that you know somebody's going through right now? All right, I would just call the police, file a report. That's a criminal matter. Okay, all right.
We have a question over here. I'd like to know if the do not call registry still exists. Because we've been on it, but we still get so many phone calls that we shouldn't
It does
be getting.
exist, but again, like I said, these people are spoofing numbers. They're calling from numbers. They're just randomly going through and taking numbers and calling. Like I get 30 a day, at least 30 calls a day. There's a feature on your phone. I think you can silence them all, and you'll see that they call, but you won't have to worry about the phone ringing or anything like that. It'll identify it as spam if it's not in your contact or a legitimate number.
We have a
There's
question
another
right
one.
here.
Hi, I use my debit card quite a bit, and how do you use your debit card as credit?
A lot of times when you put your card in the machine, it asks you if you want credit or debit. And you just hit the credit, and then you don't have to put your PIN in. It goes to the account. Basically, a credit card charges to an account. Debit card takes right out of your bank account.
Right.
So the money's automatically taken out. So if you felt more comfortable using that feature, you can. You just have to, like I said, be careful where you're using it. I used that was a credit card. I used it. I went up to see a ball game. That was a hockey game, actually, and I gave the guy my card, and by the time I got home, they racked up charges on it because they had taken my number. They didn't have a PIN, so that would have been the use of the credit card number. But sometimes it's good to have the debit card because of the PIN, but again, if they get that information, it comes right out of your bank account.
How do they get the PIN?
Well, they might not necessarily get the PIN, but if they do it, if you leave it, if it's in your contacts in your phone or some type of password file in your phone, they can get the PIN that way.
Oh, okay.
But the scanning devices are usually how they get the PIN, because you put the thing in the scanning device and it reads it as you punch in the number, and then they get it that way.
Oh, okay. Thank you very
Scanners are
much.
very scary. You got to be careful when you use them for those purposes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have another question over here.
Hi.
Hi. I booked a flight. I booked a flight on Spirit Airlines, and they had a credit card on file. And the next day, I got notified that the credit card that was on file, which was true, had been expired. So I had to call them and use a new credit card.
Okay.
Well, I called them and used a new credit card, and they asked me, they put two charges through. One for the ticket and one for a surcharge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ticket was $50 and the surcharge was $100. And the surcharge was fraudulent. And luckily, my bank caught it and they didn't put the $100 charge through. But how would somebody find out that there was a credit card on file that had expired and it was legitimate for me to call? It was a legitimate flight. How would they find that out?
Criminals are smarter than you think. They got a lot of good technology to delve into your these files, these systems, and pull out information. Some of these, we talked about the debit cards. Some of these cards, these machines, these readers, they're reading hundreds of cards, and they have all this data on these cards, personal information. So, however that sounds like a security breach to me. However that happened, and that would be on the part of Spirit Airlines. I'm not blaming them, but I'm saying if it were something like that, to have updated their software, to prevent things like that from happening. And that's part of the problem, is that these companies are doing the best to safeguard, your information, but that criminal technology just keeps advancing, and it's hard to keep up with it. And by the time you catch up to it, they got something new. So the good thing is you got reimbursed, and that's, thankfully, these credit card companies are at least doing that.
Thank you. They didn't get the $100. I paid the $50.
Yeah,
We have a
that's what's
question.
important.
But, yeah.
Thank you. Hello. Just this morning, I got a call in regards to solicitation for law enforcement.
Cool.
That's a big one. I'm retired
Yeah, you get that.
myself,
Yeah,
so
we don't-
I was able to.
We don't do that.
Exactly.
I don't know anybody that does that. We usually, if anything, like I said, we do by mail. We send correspondence through mail. We never call. We never put pressure on people. That's obviously a scam. So be careful of those two, yes.
And secondly, we're talking about scamming, and I'm glad everybody's here. Thank you for coming and inviting us, especially to Judy. We are having in our senior communities, because of the economy, a lot of people moving their adult children into the communities with addiction issues, mental health issues, et cetera, et cetera. And rather than outside people taking advantage of us, we have people inside our communities taking advantage and posing very big security issues and safety concerns.
Right.
I spoke to the mayor, Judy, I know is an advocate. In Lakewood, they have 2 senior officers specifically in charge of all the senior communities there. They come out to safety and security meetings within different individual 55-plus communities and speak sometimes monthly. So those 2 officers are geared to handling the complaints and issues within the communities themselves. They have been very helpful in conquering some of the addiction and narcotics dealings within those communities, quote, prostitution within those communities, and they avail themselves monthly to the seniors' concerns where they can address confidentially with the officers and gate security, whatever you
Sure,
have,
yeah.
with, on a confidential level without being open to intimidation
Sure.
and harassment and other aggressive behavior.
Right.
I'd like to know how we, as a county, as a municipality, are dealing with those issues inside our communities. Thank
Well,
you.
that's been, as far as I've been here, and even before, that's been the case. You know, folks move in and they have children that fall on hard times and stuff, and they're there. That's really, that issue itself is up to the associations to address how they're going to deal with that particular issue. We do have a community affairs officer. Unfortunately, he's a detective that, it's a collateral duty. And we're working on getting a full-time community affairs officer that would do just that. I don't know that we'll be able to do 2, but we'll at least have 1. That would be very helpful. Whomever it might be, we have a couple good candidates that are actively and willingly, participating in doing that now. And that would open up the communication. I think that's very important. So it's in the works. So that'll at some point be the case. I will definitely tell our chief that that has been a concern and a request, and that would be food for thought. I think that's a great idea. But that is in the works, yes.
What do you do when you're doing some kind of transactions over the computer, and then I cannot go through it, and then they ask me to allow them to have a remote access to your computer, and then they do all these things so that they can proceed.
Yeah, that's.
Is there any way that after doing that you have to do something to prevent them again, or they have the records of what you have done, or?
You have a reputable company, you mean, working on your computer?
Again?
Is it a reputable company, somebody that you know is a legitimate company working on your computer?
The one that had a remote?
Yeah, are you talking about when you call up a company and you need assistance with something, and then they say, well, just give us access and we'll go through it with you?
I don't know if it is legitimate or what.
That's
So,
a very gray area.
A gray area, yeah.
I can only suggest that if you're going to, again, I can't have the answer for every scam. You have to kind of use a little bit of common sense and rational thinking when it comes down to that particular instance. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, again, red flags. Slow
there a way
down,
that
do some
you-
research, find out who the most legitimate person is to talk to about that, who has the most knowledge on it, and just go that avenue. Even if it circumvents you past that and gets you to an answer down the road, at least you get the right answer. You got to be careful with that.
Do you need to reset your computer, or you just?
Well, resetting your computer is fine as long as you save your information.
Yeah, but
you can wipe that whole computer off and start over again. But
it didn't take long to do all those, remote control, or they can, just go to one particular area of the
Right.
computer that they're trying to
That's going to
resolve.
be, if you want to take that chance, that's a personal preference. If it's somebody that, yeah, trusted source, then by all means, but, I mean, am I getting the question right? You're talking about allowing somebody access to your computer?
Yeah, because you allowed it, because let me access your computer remotely,
Yep.
and I allowed it so
If
that
I'm
they
doing
can-
that, it's going to be a trusted company. I'm definitely I'm going to be a little leery of that.
So do you need anything to prevent, to reset your computer, or to prevent, they did not have any access at all from any other parts of the computer?
I'm not very computer savvy in that way. I would definitely call like a reputable company. I can't say which one, but go online and research and forward these questions to them. They could probably really help you out
Okay, thank
better
you.
than I could. I don't want to give you any bad information. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
I hope this was helpful to you all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Stay cool.